Face IQ has completely changed his diet. Hi, I'm JM from Savage Wellness, where we try to make health simple, accessible, and realistic for everyone. For those of you who don't know, Face IQ was a huge promoter of the carnivore diet and recently has completely pivoted and reintroduced some carbs in his diet. Face IQ was known to go out on the web and call everyone out for eating carbs. And now he's eating carbs himself, which is quite ironic. So recently he has posted a video of him doing his typical food and nutrition breakdown. And he's gonna be reviewing some primal diet eating. And let's see what he has to say.
Today I'm gonna be reviewing some day of eatings in the primal sphere, maybe just some normies as well, through my new dietary perspective. So you're going to hear some different explanations, some different perspectives of why I think things are good or bad. Of course, anything can kind of be utilized in different ways depending on the context, more things than just red meat. And I guess this will kind of be a hard launch of my new perspective, but I'll be having more content referring to this as well. It's going to be very different. So without further ado, this is going to be a fun video. Let's hop right into this review. The primal diet. Yeah, so this is an agenous thing, you know, that raw cheese binds to toxins, which there's a little bit of truth to that. He's starting off the day fundamentally, though, with fat and protein, which I found in myself and even in people I've worked with one-on-one.
I don't think there's any problem starting your day with fat and protein. Charles Poliquin was a huge promoter of this method, and I think it's setting off your body with the right type of fuel for the day.
And with this newer approach, you kind of would probably want that later in the day. It could even be a morning thing, but probably not the first thing. In terms of the first thing you eat, I would recommend probably fruit juice or raw milk. You could even put some honey in the raw milk just to fully refill liver glycogen as well. But it's good for him. It's not bad. Cheese is a good food. Raw cheese is very good. Yeah, you know, it's interesting. He has juice, but look at it. It's from the green leafy vegetable juice instead of fruit juice, which is more appealing to us for a good reason. Better minerals, actually have glucose and fructose.
Actually, celery and parsley are loaded with minerals, if I remember. I understand that eating green stuff is typically not in line with what humans would eat in nature. I do believe that Argenis talks about that in his book, where these are used as medicine more than food. I think Argenis never claims that this is food per se. This is more for hydration and some detoxification, if I remember.
Which you can use as energy, again, refill liver glycogen. So that's interesting. And actually more B vitamins, things like that. So
I actually haven't experimented much with the celery juice, but I think I'm gonna give it a try. See if it can help with my electrolytes.
You know, celery and parsley juice, you'll have persalicins. It's hard to pronounce. They can actually make you very allergic to the sun in high amounts as well. You'll have more of the anti-nutrients instead of fruit juice. It also will taste worse. Interesting that they utilize the green juices instead of the fruit juices. Very interesting. Yeah, the cheese train idea.
I'm still a bit skeptical of how evolutionary consistent juicing would be. I mean, I know certain tribes would squeeze out certain juices from certain plants, but clearly we didn't have access to blenders and juicers and things like that. So yeah, I'm not certain about that. I know Argenis said in his book that if you were like on a raw primal meat diet from birth and not exposed to much toxicity, you will dramatically reduce the need for plants in your diet and even starches.
Yeah.
The high meat, I still haven't experimented with that.
Just look at it from an intuitive perspective as well, right? It looks very unappealing. Raw liver itself doesn't look unappealing, but this really looks unappealing. And fermentation often will, you know, have lots of endotoxins produced because you'll have a lot of gram-negative bacteria eating certain sugars. Liver has sugar, so a lot of gram-negative bacteria will eat that sugar. And you have endotoxin, you have lactic acid, both of which can burn.
The thing is, what looks appealing, I think, is subjective, because what looks appealing to one culture might be completely different to the other. I mean, I know that the Eskimos would bury meat in the soil and let it ferment and rot, and they would have no problem with the smell or taste. A little bit of the same way that, you know, certain Italian and French would eat completely smelly and, you know, fermented or rotten cheese. You could say, you know, some of these cheese, they really smell, but they taste good. So I think it's just a matter of culture when you've been exposed to as you're growing up.
In the liver. So very interesting because they're trying to get as much bacteria as possible. Uh, very interesting. I definitely wouldn't do this. I've never really been into the high meat thing, really. Steak, raw steak, that's good.
Looks good.
Lemon, honey, egg, and butter, that's actually very good.
I've actually done the lubrication formula, I think he calls it, from Ajna's book. It's really good. Tastes delicious.
It's very good. Very nutritious. Again, I am a fan. I think there's a place for carbs in the human diet.
It's good to put on weight, I'll tell you that, especially if you're combining carbs and fat. Yeah, you will put on some weight.
So I think raw honey has a great glucose to fructose ratio. It can definitely be used. It's really good.
He used to bitch about honey so fucking much. Have you noticed like how calm he is as well? In all of his other videos, he was super abrasive and super confident about everything is shit. And I think everything is nuanced. There's never like a definite answer for everybody. So I'll give him that. I think it's good that he's looking into it deeper and that he's opening his mind. So I think that's a good perspective.
Enzymes and minerals as well to some extent. Sun is good, yeah. Cheese and honey, that's good, yeah.
Tastes delicious.
Yeah, this is really good. Yeah. Of course, from, you have all the amino acids, all the fat soluble vitamins. The honey, I do see a benefit in that. I don't really think the low carb and ketosis approach is good. And by the way, the whole leaving ketosis with protein thing, that's actually up for debate, I would say, based on what I've been looking into with that. So it's good. It's very good.
So essentially, it does seem like a complete 180 to what he was promoting before. So I'm struggling a little bit because I feel like you need a bit of a nuance. Like if you're adopting new like dietary philosophy, I don't think you should completely trash the previous one or the one where you came from, if that makes any sense. I think you should just approach it with context and nuances.
He does the raw whites, I assume.
Anyways, I will give you my thoughts at the end, guys, so make sure to stay tuned. I have a bit of an angle or a theory as to why I think he did that change.
Yeah, honestly, I think this was a very good day of eating. This is very good. He definitely has a good calcium to phosphorus ratio with all the dairy, most definitely. Also fructose can, the way it displaces phosphorus can reduce your need for calcium as well. So yeah, he's definitely calcium maxed. And yeah, he has good amount of good ratios, I would say. Good amount of red meat still. Yeah, this is a really good day of eating.
I mean, I agree. The guy looks good. If he feels good on that diet, I don't think there's any problem there. He was still leading with protein and fat, which is okay, which is great. And if you have a little bit of carbs here and there, especially during the summer, I think that's great.
That looks really good.
That's a lot of protein.
So this is an approach that I would have thought was very, very good in the past. Again, raw eggs will never be more appealing to me than the cooked whites and then having the yolk raw, but
in the smoothie, they're fine. Nice meat.
That's a lot of copper.
Liver looks good.
This is good. Very good, full of, the collagenous amino acids, really good for the skin. Salmon and sardines, probably not my first choice, but not a huge deal. But then again, he kind of layers on a lot more meat and eggs. And it's interesting, like when you look at his day of eating, I would say these could be substituted for fruits, fruit juices, some honey, maybe more dairy with honey. Because I would say he definitely is probably quite high on protein, definitely more than a gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. I mean, if you look through the day.
Yeah, it does look like a lot of protein.
How much protein is he hitting? I mean,
maybe not enough fat.
I don't want to overshoot it, but that really could be 300 grams of protein. A lot of that protein is just going to be converted into glucose. But you're going to have, the ammonia byproduct if you're going super high protein. And you will have 15% more gluconeogenesis with no carbs. And so you will see typically in, carnivore blood work, I've been reviewing so much of it. You do see cortisol, not just upward, but very, very high. And cortisol comes with a lot of downstream effects. You know, hormones are signals. It's a signal I don't think you want super high chronically. Yeah, I definitely think a lot of its protein could be substituted for carbs, like fruit juices, fruits, honey.
Or substituted for fat.
It would make a lot more sense. It would speed up his metabolism. It would raise his free testosterone. It would, you know, improve his DHEA. It would help convert a lot of that cholesterol into steroid hormones. I bet he'd probably see his whole hormone panel kind of shift upwards in terms of just overall amounts of things like testosterone and free testosterone. And definitely his thyroid panel would improve, I would argue. Yeah, definitely high in the protein. Good amount of fats, probably. You know, and interestingly, like
I'd say you
when
could
you have
have
a
more
ton
fat.
of fats, there, especially eggs, like this many eggs per day, there's still, you know, 20% polyunsaturated fats. So when you have so much fats, it's also inefficient because you don't need that much for the fat soluble vitamins. And then you're actually getting a solid amount of polyunsaturated fats. You know, today's day of eating probably that amount of eggs, I mean, and salmon. Yeah, like he probably had 20 to 30 grams of polyunsaturated fats today. When you eat excessive sugar, that just gets turned into saturated fat or monounsaturated fat. It can't even go to polyunsaturated fat. So I would say it would be better to take the risk of eating too much sugar and then that going to body fat, because that's going to be mostly just the very stable saturated fats. Whereas this, you're actually integrating the polyunsaturated fats into the membranes. Like that's how you can kind of look at it. So yeah, definitely I think his ratios are pretty off, but very nutrient dense just from a hormonal and thyroid perspective and from a fatty acid composition
Funny, because a few weeks ago you would have said that's probably the best diet on earth.
perspective. That would be my recommendation. Eggs cooked in tallow, this is really good. Again, take note, already 5 yolks.
Sure.
So that's already 5 to 10 grams of PUFA, something to consider. Avocado, again, avocado is something that's taking up your fat macronutrients and you're not getting the fat soluble vitamins with it. And then you're also getting, you know, lots of mono and polyunsaturated fats relative to saturated fats. So I don't really see an argument for it from that perspective. It's not a lot, but this could have been raw butter. This could have been, you know, some milk.
True. I think avocado, there's nothing special with it. I do agree that if you replace it with animal fats, you will get the complete panel of fat-soluble vitamins. But apart from that, it's not like the worst thing. Avocado is a fruit and it's mainly fat, so not the end of the world. What do you guys think? Let me know down below.
Could get the dairy fat that way. It could have been raw cream instead of the plant fats. So then the sardines are kind of contaminated. And I guess she has, you know, kind of a raw carrot salad there. No issues there. That's probably how I would have started the day. Oysters, really good, nice.
I wouldn't start the day with fruit juice. Yeah, I think I can remember, I think they've done studies where they were feeding breakfast, children different breakfasts, and they were testing their cognitive performance at school. And then they had like hard carbs, medium carbs, high fat, and it had high fat, high protein. And it would be night and day. The carbohydrates would just, it's like too fast energy, not stable and sustainable energy throughout the day. So it would just, the kids would just be all over the place. They couldn't concentrate. And for the fat and protein groups, they had very calm, very focused children. So I don't know. I prefer starting my day with fat and protein for sure. If I would introduce some carbs in my diet, I typically introduce them when I want to gain weight or in and around my workouts. This seems to be minimizing the negative effects from sugar and being utilized by the body a little bit faster. Also, I feel like for me, I'm naturally very thin. If I eat pure, strictly carnivore, I really struggle to maintain weight, like a healthy weight. I go very lean, often below 10% body fat, and I start feeling like shit. So I do tend to incorporate a little bit of carbs, sometimes in the forms of fruits, maybe rarely in the forms of starches. And it's a great way for me to add a little bit of fat on my body and feel better overall, especially before winter.
Nice. Nice. It's a really good day of eating. It's really good. I just think you know,
I agree.
you already have the oysters and the steak. I'd probably get rid of the sardines. And in terms of the avocado, again, it's just kind of a opportunity cost to fill up your fat with avocado, especially because I didn't really see that much animal fat Yeah, like her fatty acid. Okay, so this is relatively high PUFA. This is relatively high PUFA. This is really lean. Yeah, I mean when you actually break it down, she could be consuming, in terms of the fat she consumes, very low amounts of saturated and around 20% polyunsaturated. And that's going to add up day in and day out. That's what, if you're going to be eating like this, you know, you definitely want to make sure every gram of fat is kind of fighting for its life. Okay, egg yolks, you can maybe incorporate a few per day just because of the micronutrient profile, but you want the main gist of your fat to actually be from the saturated source. So whether that's raw dairy or ruminant fat. So
Yeah.
that would be my only critique, I would say.
Not wrong there.
And an easy way to kind of help that out is remove the avocado, I would argue. Yeah, replace that with like raw cream and some fruit.
I agree. Avocado can be quite bloating because they're very high in fiber. I remember when I did strict carnivore, I had like half of an avocado at some point, and I got serious stomach ache, very, very bloated. And I tried it twice to reincorporate only that ingredients to make sure that it was it, and yeah, not so good. You might do well with it, but for me, it was not so much.
Something like that.
All right, that's it. The first thing that I like is that he keeps an open mind and he's opening his horizon towards nutrition. That's always a good thing to see. For me, I've never been so dogmatic. I do follow something that you could say is carnivore or animal based, a bit of carbohydrates, a bit of plants. I do eat certain vegetables sometimes. I use it mostly for flavor or to enhance a dish. I don't think there's any problem with that as long as your genetics can take it. At the end of the day, you can find science supporting pretty much any agenda that you have. You can find experts on every side of the fence. So at some point, you just gotta put the science aside and use your logic and listen to the best tool you ever have, which is your body. At the end, the truth is what works. And if it works for Face IQ, then I'm happy for him. It's great. It's only annoying that he was so abrasive about it and then he completely changed his mind with no nuance in between. I think that's just a bit of a miss. Also, carbohydrates, they taste delicious. Nobody's denying that. They just taste freaking good. Face IQ, he's rich, he's young, he's good looking, and now he's living in Bali, and he probably has access to some absolutely delicious fruit, and I can't blame him. I was in Bali last year, and the fruits are delicious. They just taste so fucking good. You're in a hot climate, fruits are hydrating, they taste delicious, so why not eating them? He doesn't give a fuck anymore. Over there, they have like a mangosteen. That shit is so good. It's my favorite fruit. That being said, I still do believe that a meat-based diet is the way to go forward, whether there's carbs or not. I think he's just traveling, having a good time, and eating some delicious fruit in an exotic country, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, that'll be it for today, guys. If you like this kind of video, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.